Hola a todos! Thanks for stopping by, and as always, depending on what time you're tuning in, buenos días, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. Soy la profesora Lorraine. Bienvenidos a la Escuelita de Español. Any story that you tell may sound boring if you keep on repeating a particular noun several times in a row, don't you think? This is when personal subject pronouns come in handy, and that's exactly what we're about to get busy with, so let's begin. As you may remember, personal pronouns are used to replace people, places, or things to make sentences shorter and help them flow better. Let's look at an example in English. Jose is my brother. Jose is older. Now, instead of repeating Jose, Jose throughout the sentence or the thought, we could say Jose is my brother and substitute Jose for he onwards. So we say Jose is my brother, he is older. Thanks to these pronouns, there is no need to repeat the same nouns over and over again. The same applies in Spanish, with the difference that Spanish is a more gender-specific language than English. You see, in English, there are 7 subject pronouns. Those are I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. Spanish, however, has the same basic set of subject pronouns, but with additional forms that express gender. Let's take a look at them individually. So in Spanish, the subject pronoun I is yo. Repeat that. Yo. Unlike in English, where I is always capitalized, in Spanish we do not capitalize yo, unless of course it is used at the beginning of a sentence. Here's a sentence using I in Spanish. Yo camino. Yo camino, which means I walk. Let's now take a look at the pronoun that is used as second person singular, which would be you. In Spanish, there are actually 2 ways of saying you. There is the formal way and there is the informal way. The informal way is tú. Tú. And the more formal is usted, often abbreviated as UD. Whenever you see UD, we still say usted. You might ask, when or how each is used? Well, my advice to you is to use tú when referring to friends, children, or people in your age group that you know very well. Usted can be used for more formal situations, such as with elderly people, with someone you don't know or you have just met, in a job interview, etc. Let's read these examples with you. Tú in the informal form. Tú cantas. Tú cantas. You sing. And in the more formal form, usted, we could say usted canta. Usted canta. You sing. So as we've explained before, you could use tú with your friends, your family, persons you know. For instance, you could tell your friend, tú cantas. However, if you want to speak in a more formal way, you want to talk to your teacher, you could say usted canta. Both of these means you sing. Genial. We'll now continue with the third person singular masculine, which is él. Please don't confuse él with the accent on the E. This one means he. With él without the accent, that means they, which is the article that we learned a few classes ago. So in English, we have he as a personal subject pronoun. In Spanish, it's él. Remember, these 2 words are different. They have different meaning, and used for different things. Él is a personal pronoun to express that he does an action. Él, without the accent, is the definite article, which means they. It goes before a masculine singular noun. Let's look at an example with the personal subject pronoun él. Él sonríe. Él sonríe, which means he smiles. For the third person singular feminine, we have ella, which means she. So we have él for he and ella for she. Let's look at the sentence. Ella camina. Ella camina. She walks. In English, the word it is everywhere. And while there are different ways of saying it in Spanish, there is no literal translation for this word. In most instances, the word is implied. Here's a useful tip. When an English sentence has the word it before the verb, the it won't be translated into Spanish. For example, let's assume we're referring to a parrot and say it talks. Okay? It talks. Since we don't have an actual equivalent for the word it, and we know it's implied, then we only say habla, which means talks. As a beginner, it's useful to keep this rule in mind because there are other types of sentences where the word it does have an equivalent Spanish word, but that's for another lesson. Let's keep things simple as possible for the moment. Moving on. When we say we are talking about a group where oneself is included, right? In Spanish, when you talk about groups of people, you have to think about the gender of those people since it has two versions of we. Those are nosotros, nosotros for male, and we have nosotras, nosotras for female. Let's repeat that. We have two versions for we in Spanish. We have one for male, which is nosotros, and we have one for female, which is nosotras. Here's how you know when to use each. Of course, if you're male, you will always use nosotros for we. For example, for we are friends, you should say nosotros somos amigos. Nosotros somos amigos. If you're female and there is a mixture or even one male present in your group, you have to use the masculine form of we as well, which is nosotros. So again, if you are in a group and you are female, but there is at least one male present, you should use nosotros. Here's an example. We are friends. Nosotros somos amigos. Nosotros somos amigos. If you're female and everyone else in your group is also female, then use nosotras for we. Again, if you're female and you're in a group and everyone there is female, then you say nosotras. Here's an example. We are friends. Nosotras somos amigas. You no longer say amigos because amigos goes with males only or a mixture of male and female. So in this case, being only female, we say nosotras somos amigas. We'll now take a look at the pronoun they. There are two versions of this pronoun in Spanish as well. You have ellos for when you are referring to a group of people made up of only males or a mixture of male and female. Here's an example. So as you can see on screen, this is a group made up of boys and girls. They are friends. In Spanish, we say, ellos son amigos. Ellos son amigos. On the other hand, you have ellas for when you're referring to a group made up of only females. As you can see, here are two women. In this case, they are friends. So we say, ellas son amigas. Ellas son amigas. Let's now focus our attention to the pronouns ustedes. Ustedes, which is actually the plural form of the pronoun usted. Remember, usted is the formal way of saying you in Spanish. Both of these mean you. Usted and ustedes both mean you. As you know, you is also a plural word in English. So basically, it is used the same way as usted in Spanish. So when you're referring to more than one person and you want to say you say ustedes. Vamos a leer los ejemplos. Let's read the examples. You are my friends. As you can see, we know from this example that you is plural because we're talking about friends. So in this case, in Spanish, we would say, ustedes son mis amigos. Ustedes son mis amigos. You are brothers. Again, we know you is plural because we're talking about brothers, a plural noun. In Spanish, we say, ustedes son hermanos. Ustedes son hermanos. Let's look at one more example. I bought books for you all. I bought books for you all. In English, we could say, I bought books for you as well. So in Spanish, I could say, compré libros para ustedes. Compré libros para ustedes. With the knowledge that you now have, we can complete the following activity by drawing a line from each pronoun to the image that represents that noun. So as we could see, the first option is nosotros. And as we know, nosotros means we. Could you look at the images and tell which one of these represents nosotros? Awesome. So nosotros, as you can see, is the first picture on your right. Let's look at ellos. Ellos means they. So this image has both male and female, so we use the personal pronoun ellos. Next is ella. We know ella means she. Here we have a guy pointing at a girl. So that's ella. Él. He. Yo means I. I, yo. Usted. Remember, usted is the more formal way of saying you. Usted. So here we have a doctor and a patient. And finally, tú is the more informal way of saying you. Tú. Excelente trabajo. Here's another exercise where you have to insert the correct pronoun in Spanish. So the first image here shows a female sitting at the table. In Spanish, we have to complete the sentence, okay? La chica está en la mesa, which means the girl is at the table. What is she doing? Since we're referring to female, we say ella está comiendo. Ella está comiendo. She is eating. Let's look at the other one. El chico tiene una escoba. El chico tiene una escoba. Now, you just heard I said chica, and now I'm saying chico. Now, this word is another word for boy or girl. So you could say chica for female and chico for a male, a boy. So, el chico tiene una escoba translates to the boy has a broom. In English, we want to say he is cleaning. What is the translation for he in Spanish? That's right, muy bien. Él. Él está limpiando. Él está limpiando. He is cleaning. Finally, we have the sentence, la pareja baila un vals. La pareja baila un vals. In English, this means the couple dances a vals. What are they doing? They are dancing. In English, we use they because we're referring to two people. What is the Spanish word for they? Remember, if it's a couple, as we can see on the screen, this couple is made up of a female and a male. So we use the personal subject pronoun ellos. Ellos están bailando. Ellos están bailando. They are dancing. Muy bien trabajo, amigos. So just to recap, these are all the pronouns that we've learned today. For the singular pronouns, we have I, which means yo. Yo. You, in the informal way, is tú. Tú. He. Él. Él. And remember, it's él with the accent on top. Él. She is ella. Ella. For the plural pronouns, we have we. Remember, in Spanish, we have nosotros for male, nosotros for male, and we have nosotras for female, nosotras. In English, we also use you as plural. In Spanish, we say ustedes. Ustedes. The pronoun they also comes in both genders, male and female. For the male, we say ellos. Ellos. And female, ellas. Ellas. I hope that you've enjoyed today's lesson. I have a great time. As always, please keep practicing what you've learned here on La Escuelita de Español through the Guyana Learning Channel. Soy la profesora Lorraine. Nos vemos el próximo sábado. See you next Saturday.